Greetings everyone, my name is Pavel Shtermo and now we'll dive in the top news of this day. Volodymyr Zelenskyy gave a big interview to the Times of India magazine. In the top topics, Ukrainian president is confident that Prime Minister Modi can influence Vladimir Putin to stop the war. Prime Minister Modi can influence the end of the war. This is the huge value of him in any conflict. This is the huge value of India, said Ukraine's president. When asked about the possibility of Prime Minister Modi holding negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, Zelenskyy gave his signal. Undoubtedly, it can be in India, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi can really do that. But I think to our format, because the war is in our land, we need to preserve and prepare ourselves, and only a court have the platform, which is the peace summit. Volodymyr Zelenskyy summed up.
Modi is prime minister of a really huge country from perspective of population, economy, influence and impact. Such a country cannot just say we're interested in end of war. Blocking of Russian economy, blocking of cheap energy resource, blocking of defense industrial complex of Russia will lead to the decrease in capacity of Moscow to wage wars against us. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, president of Ukraine, in an interview with Times of India.
India has long supported Russian war economy. On these pictures, we can see the increase in economic cooperation between the two. Also, India and Russia have joint military developments and military plans, producing tank ammunition, tanks, and even a hypersonic missile project. While India remained the leading destination of arms transfers from Moscow during 2017 and 2022, Russia's share of defense exports to the South Asian country dropped from 65 to 36% during the same period, CPRI data showed. And for some deals, India is still waiting for the Russian equipment to be transferred. According to Financial Times magazine, Donald Trump will try to freeze the war against Ukraine in case if he wins the presidential election in the US. The publication predicts a possible surge to shift responsibility for peace guarantees to European countries with imminent American distraction from the conflict and from European affairs as a whole. Main points from the publication. If Trump returns to the White House, he plans to quickly freeze the armed aggression of Russia against Ukraine. His team allegedly proposes to create autonomous and demilitarized zones along the border without Ukraine joining NATO, and trusting European countries with the role of guarantors of the peace process, with minimal involvement of the US and NATO. Trump's advisors believe that America should not bear the financial cost of peacekeeping, suggesting that these responsibilities should be transferred to European countries. Trump plans to exclude the participation of American peacekeepers, believing that Europe should take the main responsibility for resolving the conflict. This approach is worrying for European allies, as the US withdrawal could weaken NATO's position and lead to a split in the EU itself. The Republican Party is not united on this course yet, with some Trump supporters believing that the US should focus on China and reduce its investment in European affairs at all. Well, how this will go, we will see. And more about the war itself and why Ukraine targets Russian Spirit enterprises, we will talk with Ukrainian military expert and former security service employee Ivan Stupak. Greetings, Ivan.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you in our studio. And lately, Ukraine has been targeting Spirit enterprises, producing alcohol and high-octane fuel for the Russian military. Maybe you can tell us a little bit why Ukraine switched from targeting ammunition depots to targeting Spirit plants.
Okay, I will try to explain in this particular way. Maybe it's much more easier to destroy spirit plants, factories, rather to destroy some tank facilities or any other enterprises, because it's very sensitive enterprise, and the payload of Ukrainian drone is not so big. It's not about 100 or 200 kilos. It's about 20 or maximum 40 kilograms, and this weight is enough to destroy such facility as fuel depot or enterprise which manufacture spirits. So I think this is main idea.
We are seeing constant Russian offense in the east of Ukraine, in Donbass. They are conquering more and more territory with each passing day. If these strikes are capable of stopping their assault, like the assault initiative in future. So maybe they have just this cumulative effect, they have this movement speed, and with destroying ammunition depots, they will feel fatigue and they will have no fuel. Is that something that our general staff is counting for?
If we are talking just about fuel storages or producing distillates, it's a strategy um, to make as much problem for Russian budget as it possible at all, because on 2025, Russian plan to spend about 40% of its budget on military aims. So I mean national security issues and Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation. The total amount is about 150 million euros. It's approximate number, so budget is not so complete for Russian Federation. So I think destroying these enterprises, it's a matter of it's a aim to produce as much harm for Russian economy, for Russian budget system as it possible. The less production is produced, the less production is sold, and the less money Russian budget will obtain.
Economic. Then talking about the military part of the Russian offensive, we have heard ISW, the for the Study of War, analysts speaking of Russian offensive shrinking in the near future. And are you seeing some moments or maybe some hints that they are about to stop? They are advancing right now. We are trying to hold them back, but this will imminently stop.
Unfortunately not. I will explain why. The Russian rolling advance is holding on about more than 1 year since October 2023. So usually any army should make some stops during offensive operation and just to redeploy, to reinforce, and then start again. But from Russian side, we could see only a continuous rolling advance without any stop more than 1 year. And nobody knows. In Ukraine, it's the same situation for Russian military analysts, even propagandists, journalists, military journalists, they cannot predict for how long this operation could take and for what kind of circumstance it could produce, whether it be successful for Russia or the Russia could break its bones during this offensive operation. So now nobody knows.
And we know that Russian casualties have been high ranking and they've been skyrocketing for September, October, probably November. Aren't they having some problem with this, with such high casualty rate? They seem to advance even more with each passing day, but the casualties are rising too, if we believe the experts and the general staff counting.
For every day, our Ukrainian general staff make some tables about the casualties, and every day the number rises. Now, if my memory serves me well, it's about 1.7 thousand individuals per day, but it's not direct casualties. In this number covered different types of casualties: dead soldiers, wounded, light wounded, medium wounded, etc., prison of wars, and lost without any, and just lost soldiers. So here is a number, and we have to understand that Russia Federation is able to motivate its population to go to this war with money, with huge amount of money. For right now, the highest amount which was proposed for signing the contract with Minister of Defense of Russian Federation is equal to 31,000 American dollars for one-time payment. So just imagine $31,000. It's incredible amount of money for about 95% of Russian population. This amount couldn't be reached even during the lifetime. So right now it's possible to find new meat on this war for Kremlin. But as far as I know, on latest months, Kremlin faced with some problems finding new soldiers, and maybe that's why Kremlin asked the regime from North Korea to support with some manpower, and during the next days, according to Ukrainian general staff and according to Ukrainian military intelligence, we could see on the Kursk region, and they will be able to participate in counteroffensive operation against the Ukrainian army in Kursk.
Probably they are so much afraid of the general opinion dropping when they announce. I don't say if they announce, when they announce general mobilization, because people don't pay to mobilize soldiers the same amount of money as to contractors. And probably in the future they will have to announce it, and maybe there will be some small social unrest in Russia on that. Maybe just your opinion. Do you think, is it possible?
You mean about the social protest against mobilization?
Yeah, and when the people will be just taken out of the street and not paid for going to war.
I got here. Look, due to some economists, Russian economists, not those who are currently staying outside of Russia, but those who are staying inside Russia, they are totally afraid about mobilization. And also the pro-Kremlin economists, they're totally afraid. They're totally scared about mobilization. And I will explain you why. Because right now the rate of unemployment in Russia is below 2.6%. So okay, 2.6, I don't know, it's big or numbers or small numbers, but the usual number of unemployment is 3%. It's a natural numbers, natural. What is below, it's unnatural. So it's unbelievable. And Russian economists, they are screaming about the situation. There are a lot of spheres, I mean, catering, about some manufacturing. They're suffering from unemployment. So they couldn't find employees for their facilities, and they're afraid that if total mobilization will be called, so the economy will collapse.
That's an interesting observation. Probably because of that, North Korean workers and not only soldiers are going to Russia to work and bring dollars back to their country. And as far as I know, some of North Korean labor force is employed at Russian military-industrial complex.
Yeah, there is such information, but nobody knows exactly, but because there are a lot of rumors and unconfirmed information about the real purposes of staying North Korean soldiers or employees in occupied territories or in Russia Federation. Some statements, especially from South Korea and from some Western observers, they focus that these soldiers and these employees could take part in counteroffensive operation and could stay in Russia Federation with one-way ticket, with no possibility to return back home to North Korea. So they will be buried down in Ukrainian land or in Russian land, doesn't matter. Or maybe the main idea is to increase the level of expertise in modern warfare, using drones, using FPV drones, reconnaissance drones, using electronic warfare, to absorb this kind of information and then go back to Pyongyang and share this incredibly sensitive information with Kim Jong-un and with general staff of North Korea, and to increase the general level of awareness and to be prepared for possible, just my suggestion, possible war with South Korea.
Those news are quite disturbing, but let us hope that they will be staying here without returning to Pyongyang and teaching them how to use all these modern techniques that the Russian-Ukrainian war have unfolded. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
That was a very interesting and detailed interview on many questions. And thanks for having us, and have a nice evening. So that's all for today. Thanks for being with us and supporting us, because it is your support that matters for us. Take care.